8 huge men, 6 traditional events, 1 spooky Scottish palace, and this, the sword that they all want to get their hands on. It's the Highlander Challenge.
In 843 AD, having defeated the Romans and kept the Vikings at bay, the Picts were the dominant force in the ancient Highlands. With Scotland united, the first king was crowned upon the stone of destiny, here at Scone Palace.
Highland Games have as their origins training for war, but nowadays it's just serious competition. Champion athletes from all over the world have come here with the sole ambition of being crowned the greatest Highlander of them all. Last year we saw Poland's Sebastian Wenta wrestle the title from Scotland Gregor Edmunds, and this year competition is tougher than ever. It's all to play for. We're here at Scone Palace, and as always with all Highland Games, let's kick things off with the traditional parade. These men have just one aim, to beat the King's champion, the Highlander, Sebastian Wenta.
I lay down the challenge for any man to take the sword from the champion, the King's champion.
I am champion, Highlander.
So let's meet our 8 Highland challengers.
Neighbour, 130 kilos, 6'6", Melbourne, Australia.
Darius Slowik, Vancouver, Canada, 6'5", 120 kilos, student and an athlete.
I'm Dave Barron from New York City. I'm 36 years old and an attorney. I'm a 6'3", 125 kilos.
Gregor Edmunds from Glasgow, Scotland, 22 stone, 6'4", and a professional athlete.
Larry Brock, 29 years old, 6'3", 135 kilos. I'm a professional Highland Games athlete, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA.
Lukasz Wenta, Poland, 28, 115 kilo.
Scott Ryder, 30 years of age. I weigh 120 kilos, I'm 6'2". I'm a PE teacher and I live in London.
Sean Betz, 32 years old, 138 kilos, 6'5", personal trainer, USA.
Now the Scots hammer was the forerunner to the Olympic hammer that's thrown today, and it was used as a brutal weapon against armoured opponents. It probably evolved from this bad boy, the Morning Star. Do not be fooled by its cute name, because this does a lot of damage indeed. Now the 16-pound hammer being thrown today is being thrown for distance, and the athletes will use big spikes in their shoes for balance and a sticky substance for grip.
In turbulent times, the old Scottish chiefs knew they had to keep their clansmen ready and fit for battle. Even at the Queen's Highland home, Balmoral Castle, there's a stone carving showing King Malcolm Canmore at a Highland Games There is a shot putter, a bagpiper, and someone with a rather large hammer.
Oh, I'm glad the hammer's not like that today. Here's our modern version and commentary by Colin Bryce and Hamish Davidson.
Well, thank you, Natalie. And here's the Highland Games World Champion from the USA, Sean Betz, and that is huge. Hamish, a lot of technique in this.
Yeah, he's a tremendous thrower, this fellow. He's trained in everything, he's good in everything, and the hammer is one of his specialities. The Americans have come on in leaps and bounds.
Well, he is a very tall man as well, 6'5", long-armed, and that has to help in the hammer. Certainly put the pressure on all the others. And this is Lukasz Wenta, the younger brother of the champion Sebastian. And again, he gets a good pull, but the early swings just seemed a little slow, Hamish.
Yes, he's relatively new to the hammer. He's an excellent shot putter from Poland. He's only just recently taken up the games, but it's still a long throw.
Well, the pole gave it a good pull at the end. And that 4-foot shaft with a 16-pound ball on the end can really fly once you get the momentum going. Now, Neighbour from Australia,
yes.
2 Commonwealth Games under his belt, and he gives it a good pull.
He's a specialist in the shot put and discus, and relatively new to the hammer too, but he's a very tall athlete again, 2 meters tall and around 20 stones.
Well, you can see he was just a little off balance at the end there.
Yes, yes.
He has got these huge spiked boots which root him to the ground. That's the traditional way of throwing the hammer. And Dave Barron of the USA from Manhattan.
Yep, a very experienced thrower in the hammer. He's had several years now in the Highland Games in America.
That's almost 130 feet there. You can see the line. And really, well, they used to say 100 feet was the throw of a man. Of course, nowadays, to be a professional Highland Games man, up over 120 feet you need.
Yes, and over 130 is exceptional, and throws of over even 140 have been recorded.
Well, here is Scott Ryder, the Englishman, comes from East London, a PE teacher, and he has belted that, Hamish.
That's that way out in front now, I think, yeah?
I think it might be rivaling Sean Betz's throw. I don't think he's pipped him, but it's very close. And Scott Ryder, again, not known for his hammer throwing, but he's come on in leaps and bounds in the last couple of years as the English champion.
Yes, the English shot put champion, and he's picking up all the heavy events, really, as we'll see later.
Well, a rather bizarre fact about Scott Ryder, he's actually an Olympic bobsledder as well, so someone who can turn his hand at many different things. Darius Slowik from Canada, originally from Poland, and the Commonwealth Games thrower is on form here, Hamish.
Yeah, this is a very strong man. He was 15th ranked in the world in the discus several years ago, and he was a medalist in the Melbourne Commonwealth Games. So he's taking like a duck to water to these events.
That's right, he got a bronze medal there. Now, Scotland's former world champion, he lost that title this year. It's big Gregor Edmunds from Glasgow.
Oh, Gregor's really trying here.
Certainly gave it a big rip. The roar often suggests you've got a hold of it, but he's not troubling the top 3, I don't think.
No, not at the moment, but Gregor can do it.
He can indeed when he needs to. You can see the size of the arc. He has such long arms, Edmunds, but maybe just pulls his arms in a bit at the end.
That's right. I think he's maybe trying too hard. You have to relax the arms out long and build up the speed.
Well, here is one of those excellent Americans, Larry Brock, second in the Highland Games World Championships this year, and he rips it out there.
Yes, a superb technician in the hammer, and he is a force to be reckoned with in this competition. He's right up there with the leaders.
He is indeed, and that brings us to the end of the hammer as Larry Brock brings himself into 3rd place behind Betz and Ryder.
So I'm with Scott and Sean now, who are number 1 and 2 in the hammer. Congratulations, you must be pretty pleased with that.
I was really pleased. I can't believe I came second. It was a 9-foot personal best for me, so it's a bit of a shock.
So come on, where did that come from? Where did the strength come from?
God knows. I think I just relaxed. Yeah, I had a little chat with Grant. He was having a joke with me. I think it relaxed me. I managed to stay a bit looser, you know.
So not the chips last night?
Definitely not the chips. No. I think maybe 140 if I hadn't had the chips.
And congratulations to you, but you are of course in great form at the moment.
Yeah, it felt pretty good. I mean, I was happy for Scott with the PR, and he came up big. His best event's the next one, so he's going to take me in this event. And I was happy to win. It was a great throw, and it's a great competition so far.
Victory then for American Sean Betz, with England's Scott Ryder snapping at his heels. Slight disappointment though for local lad Gregor Edmunds. And Neighbour, the boy from Down Under, is exactly that. So that means that Sean Betz is leading at the start, but we've still got 5 more events to come, including this one. Welcome back to the Highland Games. We've seen a hammer throw and Sean Betz is in the lead. With the rugged mountainous countryside of Scotland, stones come by the bucket load, so they make for a very cheap source of ammunition. Feuding clans would ambush the enemy by standing on higher ground and pelting them with rocks and stones. Little wonder then why this stone throwing has become a national obsession to prove your manly prowess. In the 1600s, a legendary strongman lived in Glen Isla, and Gregor climbed 2,000 feet through the wind and rain to find the plateau where Maccombie Moor spent most of his life.
Above me the Mare Mountain stands like a huge sentinel shrouded in mist. It is here that shepherds came to witness Maccombie Moor lift and throw stones. Its authentic record stands with a 35-pound stone at 26 feet using the standing stance. After much searching, I have found the stone on this bleak hillside, carved from local granite. I will now try and break the record. Maccombie's throw was 26 feet, mine was 27.8. He was quite a man, that Maccombie.
Well done, Gregor. Interesting though that 400 years of advances in technology and training has only improved the throw by 1 foot 8.
Scott Ryder of England, one of only a handful of men who've ever thrown 60 feet with a stone. Hamish, it's a tremendous feat, isn't it?
Yes, it is tremendous, but here we have an athlete who's very fast and sporting the rotational technique, which is more difficult to balance than a 16-pound spherical metal ball.
Well, whatever he does it with colossal speed. And that's got to be up near 60 feet.
Yes, 60 feet with a stone is amazing. Very few athletes have done this.
Well, one man who might be able to trouble that is Lukasz Wenta. 6'7" tall, just about. His brother maybe half an inch taller, Big Sebastian. He'll be going in Heat 2. But he goes for the traditional style, doesn't he, Hamish?
Yes, that's the traditional Teague leg. But this man is one of the favourites in this competition.
And that has to be up troubling Scott Ryder's putt. Those two almost in a class of their own here. Edmunds can, on his day, get near 60 feet, but he's going to have to find something after that hammer. And look at the way he just belts it with his right arm at the end. He chases it all the way out. So, Larry Brock of the USA, and this is one of his weaker events, isn't it, Hamish?
Yes, it is. He's the hammer and 28-pound weight man.
And he's down near the bottom. Just didn't have the speed of Ryder. Grant Anderson there in the red kilt, our referee for today. Multiple world champion in the Highland Games himself. As our Canadian competitor steps forward, the discus thrower, Darius Slowik. Well, he very basic technique.
Yes, he just did a standing put there. I'm sure he could add a glide or a rotation to that and get some more distance.
Well, as he said before the competition, he just likes to throw things. So, just the pleasure of competing for Darius. A couple of tips there from Dave Barron. We'll be seeing him in a minute. But first up, it's Neighbour, the giant Australian, and he's got a good background in this.
Well, this is a man who really can put the shot. He's done it Olympic standard, but he seems to be having problems balancing that stone.
Did it just come out the side of his hand here?
I think the secret is to press that stone hard into your chin, and that's one way of overcoming the problem with the imbalance. It's an unwieldy sort of thing.
It is indeed. Now, Dave Barron, who's as used to the courtroom as he is to the stone putt.
Well, the science and art of shot putting could occupy the finest brain in the country for a lifetime. So we have brains here too.
Indeed, yeah, it's quite phenomenal. The lawyer from Manhattan, and a very pleasant guy as well. One of the most popular men on the circuit. That's mid-range. I don't think it's troubling the top guys.
That's a respectable putt of around 50 feet plus.
Well, we said 100 feet plus in the old days was good with the hammer. It used to be 40 feet, but nowadays 50 feet plus is a minimum, really. And Sean Betz attacks it, the Highland Games world champion, and he's got to be good for 53, 54.
Yeah, he seems to be somewhere in between 50 and 60 feet there, probably around 55.
Well, he doesn't seem overly thrilled with it, but then again, that's a great shot. You see, just plops over the peloton, as it were, the second group of throwers. So probably in about third place. And I guess how Gregor Edmunds reply now? That fourth place in the hammer wasn't a good start.
No, he can putt a shot at times too. His hands are big and he can hold it and balance it. And that's well up there. It could take him into the higher placings. He's not happy with it though.
No, I think he's just been pipped by Sean Betz, and it's probably another fourth place for Edmunds. And I think Scott Ryder has taken this second event.
Gregor, not quite going according to plan.
Yeah, well, it's not exactly the start I wanted, but I think today is all about getting through the day and trying to make the final.
Okay, and the man standing next to you is having quite a good day. Come on, England!
Yeah, so far, but I mean, there's a lot of events to come, and some of the events coming up are a little bit of a lottery, you know. So it's important to do well in the events you know you can do well in.
Yeah, because you did actually expect to do fairly well in the stone throwing,
It's nice,
didn't
my
you?
best event.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I say, there's things like the pole push and the sheath and the lifting the stones. I mean, I don't really know who's going to be the best at those events. I could work on last in those events.
Okay, your predictions?
My predictions for this man, I think he's going to make the final. He's had a good start, and I think, although he doubts himself, I think he'll do very well in the other events. And I think, possibly for me, I think these events will be better for me. So hopefully they'll be the final as well.
Confirmation then that Scott Ryder takes victory ahead of Lukasz Wenta and Sean Betz. So that massive throw means that England's Scott Ryder moves up to first place. But after just 2 events, it's still wide open. Ah, Scone Palace is just so tranquil. I do love it here. Right, that'll be the Highland Charge. Got ya. In the old days, Scotland was a much more densely forested country than it is now, but if you look closely, you can still see the remnants of a 1,000-year-old Caledonian forest, which is still home to the Scottish wildcat. Cut logs in the old days were used to build roofs and bridges, and the accuracy of the builder's throw was just as important as the length of the stick. So the challenge for the guys now is to toss the caber straight as possible on the face of an imaginary clock.
This is the famous Braemar Games Stadium. This is where the first of the modern Highland Games took place in 1832. Queen Victoria gave it royal patronage. This is the royal enclosure, where the royal family still attend today. The iconic event of the Games is the famous Braemar Caber. It stands 19 feet 10 long and is 132 pounds. And I'm pleased to say that we are the only father and son in history to have tossed it. Chip off the old log.
Our Neighbour of Australia up first in the caber. Neighbour struggling to get to grips with this, and this is over 20 feet and 150 pounds, so even bigger than the Braemar caber. And you've seen this shuffle a few times before, haven't you, Hamish?
Oh yes, but this is certainly one of the biggest cabers in the world, and he's only achieved a degree of elevation there.
That couldn't be more than 40 degrees, really. And if you get your protractor out, if you remember back to maths class, well, that's what David Burkmeyer, the side judge, is doing right now.
Yeah, well, there's no standard weight or length of caber, but It should be big enough and heavy enough for all but the top 2 to 3 athletes to turn completely.
So, Sean Betz of the USA, what can the World Highland Games champion pull out here? He's had a very good hammer throw and a pretty decent shot put as well for him. He was pleased to beat Gregor Edmunds. Oh, it doesn't look like he's quite got his hands underneath.
Well, there she goes. It's again a degree, probably a higher degree of elevation this time.
Yeah, somewhere certainly over 45 degrees, but didn't reach the full 90 to turn all the way over. He gave it a good pull, but just looked like his hands weren't underneath it enough to actually drive through the caber.
Yeah, he lost out on it there somewhere, and the judge there, Grant Anderson, was himself a former world caber tossing champion.
Scott Ryder, the Englishman, having a great day so far, in the lead of the competition with 9/10 of it above you. It's a little like a reverse iceberg, isn't it? And it's so difficult to actually control it.
He's got the speed. And over it goes. That's the first toss.
And if we were to lay out a clock, that's got to be around about 1 o'clock, as Scott Ryder was looking at it. Hamish, plenty power there, and he hits it early enough, doesn't he? That's one of the
keys. He's an exceptionally fast and explosive athlete, and now he's managed to combine this into his caber tossing too.
Yeah, it's often thought of as the really big man's element, the caber, but Scott Ryder once again proving it's athleticism that counts most. Now, another good athlete, but not quite as experienced as Scott Ryder yet.
He's a very strong man, this Darius. He's reportedly clean and jerked 190 kilos.
Well, that would be truly tremendous if it were true, but no. It doesn't matter how much you can lift if you don't get control of it. Well, what happened there, Hamish? It just seemed to be leaning to the side.
I think he just tried to take a gamble that didn't pay off by doing a standing toss. You have to build up speed with it.
Well, this will be interesting. Lukasz Wenta, his brother, now just about the best caber tosser in the world, so he must have passed on some tips to Lukasz, but his inexperience will be counting against him here.
Yeah, again, he just tried to toss it with 2 or 3 paces. That's not going to work with a caber of this size. It is one of the longest and heaviest cabers on the circuit.
So up it goes, but probably not more than about 50 to 65 degrees.
Yes, I would reckon 50 to 60 degrees.
Now Dave Barron, working those 14, 16-hour days in Manhattan. He trains hard at the weekend, he told me. Let's see how it pays off here. Oh, that's good.
It's good, yes. Probably 80 degrees there.
Certainly very close to the full 90, but not as good as Ryder. Ryder, the only one so far to have turned it. Perhaps with just a little bit more forward momentum, he could have got that over.
Well, as the rules state, it should be heavy enough and big enough for only the top 2 to 3 athletes to turn over. And here we have an international world-class field, so we're expecting to see perhaps 2, 3 or more boys turn this.
Now Larry Brock isn't so much known for his power as his technique, so he'll be hoping that he lines everything up perfectly here.
Yes, he has developed all the techniques in all throwing events. That's why he came second in the World Championship this year.
Certainly he picked it up without any problem at all. Again, he doesn't quite get his hands underneath it all the way, but it doesn't matter, as up and over it goes.
It's over, and it's minutes two that will be judged on.
So it's to the left-hand side of the 12 o'clock, so probably somewhere around about 10 o'clock, maybe a little bit poorer, maybe 9:30.
Yes, Scott Ryder seems to be still in the lead.
Someone expected to do well here, of course, is Gregor Edmunds. And Edmunds doesn't necessarily have to pull something out the bag, but it would be nice to get a first or a second just to solidify his place in the top 4.
Here is a man who really can toss a caber. 3 times winner of the World Caber Tossing Championship.
Well, that says everything, doesn't it? The huge hands of Edmunds enveloping that bottom of the caber. Can he get it the leg power in, though? Yes, he does! That was a tremendous toss from Edmunds, and it's going to trouble riders, I think. Probably around about 10:30 or 11 o'clock. If it's 11 o'clock, then it would probably equal riders 1 o'clock. What do you think, Hamish? Where did you see this finishing?
Well, I was going to put my money on Gregor, but that's very close. It's too close for us to say. We have to leave it to the judge, Grant Anderson.
Grant's decision went with Ryder, giving him another first-place finish. A good show then also from the 3 Americans. Ryder's now building a comfortable lead. The real battle is on, though, for the last qualifying spot in 4th. The bottom 4 athletes better up their game. Now, throughout history, stone lifting has been a big part of Scottish folklore. The 400-pound Pictish testing stone can still be found at Glen Lyon. You had to lift this stone in order to win the right to be a warrior. Now, today, the athlete's task is simple. Lift the heaviest stone in the shortest amount of time. Given that I literally can't even budge this, they've got their work cut out.
As well as the Pictish testing stones, there are many others. The most famous of which are the Dinny stones, one weighing 380, one weighing 420. This is my friend Callum, by the way. He's lifted these things. Why not? Give it a go. Come on, Gregor.
Scott, do you need a hand with that?
Yeah, well, I do.
You don't need a hand with anything. You're doing brilliantly. Bit of a surprise with the caber.
Yeah, I've got a little better with the caber, but you know, these stones are a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
This isn't throwing, you know. This is strongman stuff.
What do you do? What's the technique with this then? Talk me through it.
I would like you to talk me through it because I don't know. I'm afraid. I mean, just brute strength. Just lift it up. You need a strong back. That's about it.
Get under it.
Yeah.
Lift it up. Big guns.
Strong back, strong arms. Yeah. I mean, I think Aaron.
Really?
Aaron Neighbour will be good at
Is
this.
he? Oh, is he?
He picked them up like they were little stones earlier. I mean, I think he'll get all fall over.
Now Scott is predicting that you could walk away with this one.
Yeah, Scott. I think Scott's right.
Oh right, really? Yeah. Why are you so good at this?
You know, it's years and years of training.
Years and years of picking up big stones.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, talk me through the technique. What have you got on your arms?
I've got resin on our arms. It's just to help with the grip. These stones are really strangely shaped, so we need all the help we can get.
Smells good.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Good before a night out.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Smells good. Will he perform good? Now, Hamish, you have been Scotland's strongest man. You've lifted many a stone. There really isn't much technique in this, is there?
No, this is all about brute strength. And this is a very tall man. You wouldn't say he's actually over 20 stones. He's 6 feet 6.5 tall. And it wouldn't seem to be the ideal event to suit him, although he is super confident. Here he is with the last stone.
Well, 22.51 seconds for stone number 3, and he's got it up to his knees. One last effort to get the 4th one over. Oh, and a huge roar. And that 140 kilo stone, over 300 pounds, goes up and over.
That's definitely the time to beat.
You can see he used his arms and his hips to throw it over in the end. The Australian really has to get some points as well. He's well behind. This final stone, you can see him getting those huge long arms around it.
Well, he has finally come into his own in this event. He's an outstanding shot putter and discus thrower, having competed.
Okay, Darius.
That's right, competed at the very top on numerous occasions, but Highland Games in a cold, damp field in Scotland can often be a real leveller for the world's best. You have to have a tough tough mental side to you as well. Now, Darius Slowik, the Canadian, you've heard and said earlier that he's incredibly strong, isn't he, Hamish?
He is, yes. He was 14th or 15th in the world in the discus, and he's got some phenomenal poundages in the weights room. He's an Olympic standard discus thrower.
Well, that first stone weighs about 130 kilos. They only go up a couple of kilos each stone towards that 140 final stone. But it's not so much the weight. They actually get more and more awkward.
Yes, this is a very awkward stone. It's so flat and low to the ground.
Well, the health and safety manual tells you to bend your knees, and Darius did exactly that. But couldn't finish it off. Quite slippy. Once you put it against that log, Hamish, you really have to attack it and drive it over.
Yes, it's a very difficult event. We've seen the stones in the world's strongest man, but these are a different kettle of fish altogether.
Well, nothing's ever made easy at the Highland Games. The shot puts are bigger, and certainly the stones are a lot more awkward. Good effort, though, from the Canadian. He certainly gave it everything. We see that first stone there. That was the easiest for him, and even that was a tough fight. He'd spent so much energy trying to get it up, but by the time he got to the third stone, he was finished. So, Lukasz Wenta, the tall shot putter, hasn't really done any strongman before, Hamish.
No.
Do you think that's going to hinder him badly here?
No, he looks very explosive the way he attacked that first stone, and he could well get right there to the... No, I doubt that now he's struggling with the set. He's done it, yes.
But he did get it over. Him and his brother from Gdansk. They own a couple of shops together, selling different nutrition products. Certainly, if you get to grow as big as them, you'd buy products off them. And here we go with the fourth stone. His time to the third, 4 seconds slower than our Neighbour, and this isn't looking good.
No, I doubt if he'll get it now.
Trying to find some way to hold it. There really isn't a very good hold on this stone at all. At some point, I think he's going to give up here.
A valiant attempt, so I think that's it for today.
That is just rooted to the ground, Hamish. A good effort. His big brother there sitting behind watching, applauding his efforts, but it was just 3 stones in just over 26 seconds for Lukasz Wenta.
Yes, he made an explosive start, certainly, but he just couldn't quite keep it up.
Okay, Sean.
Next out, Sean Betz, the Highland Games specialist. Something tells me, oh, well, that was pretty quick. I was going to say, Hamish, that he won't be very good at this, but he's got some brute power there.
Well, he's the world champion Highland Games throwing man. I don't think he's dabbled much in strongman at all. And he could be preserving himself for fear of injury, but so far, so good. He's on to the third stone.
Well, attacking this, they call them the manhood stones, and you certainly don't want to go out there and put in a poor effort on them. That wouldn't go down too well with this crowd here at Schoonen. Well, he finishes up at 23 seconds for the 2 stones. He did his best, but with a little smile there to Larry. He's kind of saying, now it's your go, Larry. I've done my best here. And that second stone wasn't too much of a problem. Next up, Dave Barron. And Dave is a real fan of strongman, he was telling me before this event, but he really hasn't trained much of it. So he was looking forward to getting stuck in here.
Yes, he's a fan of strongman events, but I don't know if he's taken part in many of them. But he's doing very well so far. That's exceptional. He's on to the last stone.
He's actually quicker than our Neighbour managed to 3 stones. And well, no. He's used his intelligence and decided that the 4th one was just too hard for him. So off he goes, and his friend Larry Brock comes in. But a great time to the 3rd stone for Dave Barron.
Larry seems to be having problems here. He's a technician in all the throwing events, but he seems a bit unfamiliar with this event.
The South Carolina man trying to get to grips with his second stone, and it's so awkward. The weight is quite strangely distributed.
I would say he gave up rather too easily there, preserving himself for the coming throwing events.
Well, Hamish wasn't impressed, but I expect you'll be impressed with this man, Hamish.
This is the man we're waiting for, Gregor Edmunds.
Well, he is the real deal in terms of Highland Games. He's got a World Championship belt, and he's made a World's Strongest Man final where he finished 8th in Kuala Lumpur.
This is, I would say, his specialist event in the strongman. He's done it all. He looks good. He's going to lift that 4th stone.
Chasing the time of Neighbour, 37.92 seconds.
And he does it. The fastest time far and away so far.
Well, he stood up to Aaron Neighbour's challenge. Neighbour thought he was going to win this event, and he put down a huge time there. But Gregor Edmunds, as ever, is fantastic at this stone lifting type event. He's just got such incredibly thick and powerful arms, hasn't he? His wrists over 9 inches around. And his hands, well, his hands are like a bunch of bananas. Really just an enormous man.
Well, he has a set of these stones in his back garden, and he's practiced regularly for years.
Well, what else do you do when you're growing up? Good, healthy sport of stone lifting. So, Scott Ryder is the last competitor to come out, the leader of the competition at the moment. And Ryder didn't look happy coming out here to lift these stones, as this is just an event he's never done before, coming from track and field. But,
yes, he's very explosive, though. He's going to apply some speed in lifting these stones. And he's much stronger than you might think.
Oh, he is indeed. He's getting stuck in anyway. The children of Portland Place School, where he teaches PE, will be watching this and cheering. And of course, there's soon to be an addition to the Ryder family, as his wife Julie expecting a baby in the next couple of weeks. And she, of course, has been Britain's strongest woman. What a child they'll produce.
Yes, one would hasten to think what type of shot putting or strong men, strong women progeny they will produce.
So, stone number 4, Hamish. Well, if it was want of trying, I guarantee you it would get over here. But does Ryder have the power?
Well, he's not one to quit easy. He's in pole position at the moment, winning the first 3 events.
Gregor, congratulations. All that technique, all that practice, it paid off.
I don't think it's so much technique. I think it's more brute force and ignorance, as I first said.
But Aaron was talking himself up, and you went and beat him.
Well, I did strongman in the past, and obviously a little bit of that rubs off. So I was known for stone lifting. I did have a world record in stone lifting in the past, so that's a new one.
And do you think a bit of insider knowledge, knowing the technique of lifting those stones, helped?
No, it's just a feel. You know, they feel nice, and they went over nice, so I'm happy.
So, Gregor getting a good feel for things. Only 2 men did all 4 stones, Edmunds beating Neighbour comfortably. So let's have a look then how that affects the standings. Ryder is holding on to first, with Gregor Edmunds leapfrogging our American friends. Pitching the sheaf has become a really popular event at all Scottish Highland Games. You basically have to stab this and throw it over the bar above your head. Now that actually weighs a lot more than it looks. It will weigh about 20 pounds, and the average international challenger will throw it over 10 metres.
Many of the old Scots could not afford swords. They used farm implements like this pitchfork. It was used for tossing hay into a loft. But it was also effective in battle.
Ouch. In the 24-foot first round, Larry Brock, Darius Slowik and Lukasz Wenta failed to make the height, but the big shot came when the big Scotsman Gregor Edmunds failed to make the height as well. So with the bar raised to 26 foot, we join the action with Betz of America attempting the pitch.
Sean Betz of the USA, up and over, and that was easy. A very technical event, isn't it, Hamish? Surprisingly so.
Yes, although it is traditionally from Scotland, this event, it doesn't feature on many Highland Games programmes, whereas the Americans usually feature it in all their games. Hence the reason the Americans seem to have mastered this event.
Well, Scott Ryder putting in a good effort for England there, but coming up just short. Hit the bar, and on a different day that would have gone over. Dave Barron, the American. Good ripping noise, and oh, just. He doesn't look like he's worth too much more, but that doesn't matter.
Yes, these Americans seem to have plenty experience with the sheath.
And a misguided missile from the misfiring muscle of Aaron Neighbour there. Just to the side. And that means the height has gone up 28 feet now. And it looks so high up there. Psychologically, it's going to be difficult. Sean Betz, has he got the power? No, it goes underneath. And, well, the ripping sound there as he tugs away. Certainly not his underpants. They don't wear any. But the sheath being put under a serious amount of pressure here. Dave Barron. Can the New Yorker do it? Yes, tremendous.
Yes, he's done it. These Americans seem to have the technique down to a fine art.
Well, it just tickled over, didn't it? He's good at getting exactly the right amount of power into it. Sean Betz to match. Oh, no, that's it. And that's Betts' second attempt. It's over. Dave Barron, then, is the winner.
Great result then for the US of A, and we've got 4 locked at equal at 5th. How does that then impact on the leaderboard? Well, Ryder increases his lead and Sean Betz resumes his spot in 2nd, with Dave Barron holding on to that 4th qualifying spot. Join us after the break for plenty more epic action at the Highland Games. Now, swords were a bit pricey, so the Scottish Warriors found that a simple piece of sharpened wood and a bit of teamwork could prove just as effective.
A man's most simple weapon would be a sharpened stick or a spear. This was first put to use in 1314, where Robert the Bruce defeated the English cavalry for the first time, using 30 men. This is called the Schiltron.
The Schiltron, otherwise known as a defensive square, was a battle formation used to great effect at Bannockburn. It took great discipline and bravery to hold the line in battle, but was used to devastating effect. We commemorate this innovative manoeuvre using slightly less sharp poles. The push and pull of battle is mirrored here.
And our first bout, Scott Ryder in the red kilt. And he takes on Darius Slowik, the Canadian. Well, it's a baptism of fire here for the Canadian. And Ryder, who's started with a great day, will move himself into the semi-final. What power! And here's another power pairing. Aaron Neighbour. A study of concentration, and now he's unleashing it against Sean Betz, the American. And didn't put up much of a fight there, Betz, did he?
No, not really, but he's a very determined athlete, this Aaron Neighbour.
Yeah, he clearly isn't happy with today's competition. He got beaten in the stones and he thought he'd win that. And he's turning it on here. Well, he got beaten in the stones by Gregor Edmunds, who's now taking on Larry Brock, and this could be mismatch of the century. The giant Edmunds, look at the smile on Brock's face. He knew he was up against a much more powerful man there.
Yes, Gregor goes low and gets his man on the move, and keeps him on the move till he's just right out of the circle.
Well, just like in rugby, you have to get underneath your man. And Dave Barron, experienced in this, goes low straight away. Oh, but he slipped, and Lukasz Wenta is taking his chance here. Wenta has to be the more powerful man on paper, but Barron again attacks. But that's it, no, Barron's gone down on his knees, and Wenta goes through to the semi-finals.
So it's victory for Wenta on his first attempt at this event. The big pole on the pole.
Well, he's learning fast, isn't he? And that means he'll be taking on Gregor Edmunds in the other semi-final. But first up, it's Ryder on the right against Neighbour, the Australian, on the left. This is for a place in the final, and look how low and hard Ryder drives. He's giving away 2.5 stone in body weight, but Scott Ryder is a pit bull. Neighbour is unceremoniously thrown out of the ring there. Tremendous from Scott Ryder, and even Aaron Neighbour has to applaud how brilliant Ryder's power was. Well, Hamish, it's mouth-watering, this next prospect, isn't it? Yes. Edmunds on the left against the 6'7" man, Wenta, one of the only men, in fact, the only man in the contest bigger than him.
And Gregor finds it relatively easy, though he's got the experience there.
Goes low, and when you've got 23.5 stone of body weight behind you, it makes it a lot easier. And Scott Ryder now, he's giving away 5 stones in body weight. And what a beautiful backdrop for this competition. The gorgeous Scone Palace. And the skies are brooding here. Ryder's got lower than Edmunds. Could the Englishman defeat the Scotsman? There's been many an England versus Scotland contest happen right here on these grounds over the years. But this time, Scotland reigns supreme. Of course, though, best of 3, Hamish.
Yes, both athletes are equally determined in this event. Scott Ryder, the terrier. But he's giving away a lot of weight.
Well, a little shove for extras at the end from Edmunds there when he went to the ground. Oh, but Ryder's not giving this up easily. He's attacking. Well, like a matador, he just moved to the side and Ryder slipped on by. So Edmunds showing great intelligence there. He was actually getting pushed back by the smaller man.
Yeah, very intelligent. As we said, it's not all brute strength here. We've got men with degrees and doctors and lawyers competing in these events.
So yet again, Edmunds and Ryder tussling it out there for top spot, with the Americans trailing in their wake. So that means that at the end of the first heat, Scott Ryder, Gregor Edmunds, Sean Betz and David Barron go through to the final, and they're that much closer for their chance to lift the mighty sword. Hope you've enjoyed the show. I certainly have. We'll see you next time for Heat 2 of the Highlander Challenge World Series.